Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Million Pound Mission Podcast. It's your buddy Adam, the PhD, the previously heavy dude, and this is episode number 374, How to Live Pain-Free at Any Age with my friend, Dr. Aaron Tressler. And you guys know I've been doing the countdown. This is the final interview of this podcast series as the Million Pound Mission. Next week will be episode 375. That will be the final episode of the Million Pound Mission podcast as we know it. And I'll be going solo, just me and you guys, talking about what I've got cooking, how this podcast is going to change, who I'm bringing on as my lovely co-hosts, and what the new brand of the show will be all about, what we're going to be talking about. So I'm very excited about that one. It's a happy thing, not a sad thing, although I will reminisce a bit about my favorite memories of the 375 episodes of this show as the Million Pound Mission podcast. Also, want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Keto Brick. Check them out, ketobrick.com. 1,000 calories of perfect and delicious keto nutrition, perfect macros, delicious tastes. You will be thoroughly impressed. If you've never checked out Keto Brick, go to ketobrick.com. Use the promo code MPM, as in Million Pound Mission, MPM, to be entered to win a free month of bricks. We are entering the last week that you're going to be able to do that as well. So make sure that you use that promo code MPM, get entered to win the free month of bricks. Make it rain. Keto Bricks. All right, let's dive into this week's content. And this is interesting that we're talking about living pain-free this week because like 2 days ago, I was doing a back workout, and about once, maybe twice a year, my SI joint, which is basically at the very bottom, it's like where your spine connects with your hips. My SI joint totally gets out of whack, and I am currently there, my friends. It sucks. I can't stand up straight. I can't walk correctly. And my wife's a physical therapist. I also, incorporate great chiropractic care and lots of stretching and mobility. So I feel like I finally turned the corner, but I'm definitely not personally living pain-free today. So I felt that was kind of ironic that we're bringing Dr. Aaron on the show this week. So living with constant pain really sucks. And the good news is that it doesn't have to be that way forever, especially if you throw your SI joint out like me. We can, fix those things. But today I'm bringing in Dr. Aaron Tressler to teach us how we can live pain-free and thrive at any age. Dr. Aaron obsesses over helping people reclaim control over their health and live pain-free naturally. Dr. Aaron has a thriving chiropractic practice in Pittsburgh, PA, and he's also the host of the health podcast called Making Pittsburgh Healthy. And don't let that title fool you. It's not just about Pittsburgh. Like this guy has something special. His Instagram is on fire. He has great Instagram reels. Like the dude's in his 50s. He's shredded. Every time I talk to him, I learn something. So one of my favorite people. And in this episode, we discuss things like why he decided to go with unconventional, I put that in like air quotes, unconventional methods to heal himself after a major injury that he had, and the impressive results he's had since then, what he's been able to do physically. The largest health misconception that is limiting our progress. And he doesn't pull any punches with this. He tells it straight. And then we talk about what we should be doing daily to keep our bodies in top working order. I think you guys are going to love this one. I'm glad this is my last interview as Million Pound Mission podcast. There'll be plenty more interviews in this podcast feed to come. Don't worry. But this is a good one to finish out on. Dr. Aaron's a good dude. I've learned a ton from him, and I think you will too. So without any further delay, let's dive into episode number 374, How to Live Pain-Free at Any Age with Dr. Aaron Tressler. Dr. Aaron Tressler, my friend, welcome to the Million Pound Mission podcast. How are we doing today, man?
Fantastic, Adam. I am pumped to be here. As always, I'm pumped all day long, so I'm super pumped for this.
Well, you're somebody, we got connected first to do an interview. I did an interview on your show. We've become friends. We've worked together on business. And like, you're somebody I am really excited about introducing to my audience, because I feel like you and your story and the way that you coach and your brand are really catching fire. And I know that my audience is just going to eat you up, man. And your energy is contagious. So let's start off with the story about how you became so passionate about being healthy and helping other people be healthy. Because I know that anybody that takes that leadership perspective like you have, like there's a story behind that. So let's start there.
Okay, and I'll summarize this because I could be long, but growing up, traditional family, I grew up, I was chronically sick, wetting my bed till I was 9, stomach issues in 4th grade, allergies and sinus issues, IBS, and back then it was just diarrhea, 40 years ago. And so I was sick on the inside, taking all these over-the-counter medications. Yet I was a really good athlete. So if you looked at me as one of the top athletes in the school, you looked at me like, dude, you're healthy. You look good. You can run, lift weights, and best guy on the team. But on the inside, I was breaking down. And my dad at the time, he was 47 years old. He had heart disease, so he was taking all these pills for heart disease. And I was starting to learn about health. I was intrigued by health. I'm like, Dad, you've got to get healthy. Well, we didn't even know what that was, like many families today. Well, one day I bent over and my back literally just seized up on me. So I saw a chiropractor, first time ever. We never went to the doctor. My mom, unless I had a bone sticking through my arm, she'd run it under the sink and say, get out of here. All right, stitch. I probably should have had stitches 10 times in my life. And so we go to this chiropractor. He adjusts me, but doesn't explain anything. My dad, 2.5 years later, dies of a fatal heart attack at age 50. And that was a turning point in my life when I said, this is not going to happen to me. I was studying health and physical education in college, and I graduated. I was teaching in Florida, playing rugby, competitive rugby, a fitness guy in the gym, Mr. Fitness Guy in health. And my back did it again. Well, this time, the process, I led to another type of chiropractor, and he examined me and x-rayed me and found an imbalance and showed me how these nerves in my back travel not only into my muscle that can cause horrible pain, but 90% of them control function, like my bowels, my bladder. And Adam, at that point, and it was probably a process of learning this, it blew my mind. I thought, how the heck can this be this simple? You're kidding me. Well, I bought into it hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it just made sense. I was intrigued by it. I was looking to get out of teaching, and I went right to chiropractic school at Life in Georgia, because they had the best rugby team. And
that's awesome. That is awesome.
That really was my choice. The best rugby team, and it was the furthest south, because I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I'm like, I'm living in West Palm Beach. I got to get somewhere south. And that's when I discovered just the healing potential of the body. And along that journey, over the next 30 years, I've been injured multiple times. And my latest and greatest was and I still play active rugby. I'm 54, playing rugby and lifting weights and running all the time. I thought, I'm going to take a break from this. I'm going to ride my bike. I'm going to learn how to ride a bike. I'll learn how to ride a bike for fitness. Well, my tire came off going down a hill about 35 miles an hour, and I went straight down on my head and shoulder, broke my scapula. And it's nearly impossible to break your scapula. Well, the prognosis at that point was, it's not good. It's going to take you a year to probably do a push-up. Don't look to ever really be normal again, is what it sounded like. Chronic pain, you'll know when the weather changes because you'll ache. Well, going through periods of my life where I've had rotator cuff tears, broken ribs 3 times, torn meniscus in my knee, and many other injuries, and seeing thousands of patients heal naturally. And we can dive into this through chiropractic care and lifestyle without drugs and surgery. I saw this happening. My belief system was extremely powerful and strong. And I remember just closing the book and saying, bull crap. That may be their story. That's not my story. And probably the second day after I broke my scapula, which was on a scale of 1 to 10 with pain, it was 100. It was horrifying. I said to my wife, I said, hon, I'm playing rugby again. And she looked at me, she's like, you're crazy. Why? You're in a sling. You're crying all day in pain. And I'm like, because the body can heal. I've done it before. God is behind me. He showed me that, I'm going to heal. I'm playing rugby again. And I went on a journey of healing remarkably fast, where I ran a 5K in 2.5 months, which I shouldn't have been able to even jog, in 21 minutes. So I wasn't just out there going for a little walk. Benched 225 at 5.5 months, which was what I did before. Played my first rugby game in 8 months. So that's the hidden story. So then we can dive into all the other questions behind this, but trying to summarize my life from then till now. That's where I'm at. And it's absolutely been incredible.
Well, you've had quite a ride, and I want to dive into some of the nooks and crannies. I want to start with when you lost your dad when he was 50. And how old were you at that point?
I was 20 years old, and
Okay.
I was a junior in college.
So I feel like there are a lot of parents out there that are in my audience that need a wake up call, because a lot of us put those, like, the blindfold on, and they're like, I'll take care of me once this pandemic's over, or at the beginning of the year, but then I always say you have to find your why before your why finds you. And
Right.
when a heart attack comes calling, that's the why finding you, and you may or may not survive that. And then your kids are left behind. Like, I remember I lost my grandmother when I was about that same age, when I was like, I think I was a little bit younger, like 16, 17 years old. And one of the greatest regrets of my life, like, she had a big part in raising me. One of the biggest regrets of my life is not having adult conversations with her ever, and never getting that opportunity. So, like, how did that impact you as a young person? Because maybe there are parents out there with younger kids like that aren't prioritizing their health. Like, what did you miss out on, or what was going through your mind when you lost your dad at that age? And what do you feel like you've kind of missed out on?
And I think this has been a process over, years after that. It started to reveal itself. And the immediate thing was my dad never graduated high school. And I was the first out of 4 kids who went to college. And he was so proud of me going to college. And I'm getting emotional now. It's been 30 some years, 40 years. And I said, man, my dad never got to see me graduate college. And then I go on to teach, and then I go on to chiropractic school, and I become a doctor. And he never got to experience that. And I remember at graduation thinking, man, my dad would be so proud of me, because it didn't come easy to me. It was tough. And then getting married and having 5 kids, and my kids never got to meet my dad. My mom got remarried, so they had a grandfather, but wasn't my dad. And what an impact it makes, not just for the immediate thing, but it goes into decades of problems. And even though my dad died many years ago, as I just started to tell that story, I had to take a deep breath, because it started to bring up emotions like, dang it, man, this is powerful stuff. That and my dad didn't know. I remember him praying for an answer. We saw a chiropractor. The chiropractor could have opened his mouth to explain what health is and where health came from, and he didn't. And I don't know why he did. My kids, one day, I was doing a workshop at night. I came home late, around 10 o'clock at night, and one of my kids was up and getting ready for bed. She goes, Daddy, do you do these talks because of your, what happened to your dad? And I said, no, I part of it, but I do them because I have passion. She goes, if your dad would have been in an office like yours, he'd still be alive, wouldn't he? And my daughter and she was probably 7 years old at the time, just sees a whole different lifestyle and what we can expect from health. And so many parents and families, just like you just said, they put it off because they're too busy right now. I deal with this with my patients all the time. You've got to be a little selfish about you. Take time for you, because if you die, your family is left behind. My younger brother was only 13 at the time. He didn't get to grow up with my dad, through his teenage years. I never got to learn hands-on working on a car or anything like that. Putting a nail in. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. Playing catch with my dad or playing baseball, being in sports, I was out throwing a baseball in a tire, but I couldn't play with my dad because he just couldn't walk up and out of the yard and play catch. His heart was so bad. So you look at every aspect of your life, and it's like acid. It just eats away at every little piece of it, and you're left with a little brokenness in everything. And it doesn't have to be that way if we act on it.
Yeah, that's 100% the truth. And I always try to tell parents that I'm coaching from a health standpoint, like, you may not have time, but you need to make time, because every minute you invest in you is actually an investment in your family and in quality of life and years with them. Like, you making good, healthy food choices, you getting out and moving your body, you taking care of your body. What if that puts an extra decade or 2 decades or 3 decades on your life? And all those things that you just walked us through, you aren't missing out on those things, and they aren't missing out on you being there. And that is huge. That's called being willing to sacrifice a little bit of time, money, energy, focus, and investing it in the long term with these relationships. So I appreciate you describing that. Yeah.
Can I say something too? When you said, they may not have the time, I disagree with you. They have the time. And I argue with I try to love my patients through this. I'm like, you have the time, delegate it properly. If you were given $1 million, if you worked out for 15 minutes today, they'd work out for an hour just in case they didn't. They have the time. It's bullcrap. It's an excuse. It's a garbage excuse. And we tend to say that. It's easy to roll off our lips. And I know that. You're probably saying it just because it just rolls off our lips. I've catched myself saying it so many times. And I'm like, no, you have 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, because if you want, like you said, if you have a why, my why was, I am not dying an early death like my dad. And I didn't know what that meant when I was 20 years old, but I put that as my why, and I found out. And I'm proud that, we go out and we play kickball in the backyard or wiffle ball or football. My kids pick teams. The first guy's chosen is me. They're like, I'm getting Dad, because Dad wins. I tell the kids, there's no mercy. We're winning. I'm 54. I can still whoop your butt. I'm going to do as long as I can. You gotta get stronger to overtake me. So, and we have fun. So it's, and they look back and they remember all the times we played together, something I missed out on. So we can absolutely make this time happen if you just delegate a few minutes. And if it's important to you, are your kids important to you? Is your life important to you? If it is, push something out of the way to do it.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm kind of that dad too. Like I'm in Indiana, so basketball is king, and we're me and Henry out in the driveway playing basketball, and I'm that dad that's like swatting his shot out into the street and like telling him to go get it and stuff like that. So
love it.
But he's way ahead of me on the growth chart. Like he's going to be a lot bigger and taller than me at some points. I'm taking advantage now before he can just lift me up and like dunk me. So I got to do it. Now I want to talk about what you are doing now, like just some of the foundational principles and you investing in your own health that you feel like are super important to you being around for a long time. Like what are some of the foundational things that you feel like are absolute musts for you to be as healthy as possible?
That's a great question. And if we get this first one, it sets up the others, because many people go for, I'm going to start exercising. So I get a bike, I join a club, I do yoga, and your situation's not set up right. So you try to add something in and it fails. You try to eat a clean diet for a day or two and it sucks. And you're like, I can't do this. The first thing is mindset and belief. If you don't get your mind clear and you want to change, like I don't want to go and swim for exercise. I don't want to do it. If you told me, if you were my coach, you're saying we're swimming, I'm like, I'm firing you as a coach. I'm not swimming. I don't like that. I like to play rugby and I like to do things. So you have to have a mindset of, I want to succeed. I have to succeed. I am not going to die. I know my body can heal. So my mindset that I try to get with my patients and clients are, look, your body has an innate, an inborn, a powerful ability to heal itself. You've got to believe that. And then you can start doing the tasks or the action steps to allow that. But if you don't believe that, if you don't believe you can heal, or you don't believe that you can still play ball with your kids when you're 50 years old, there's no sense even joining a gym. You're going to fail miserably. You've got to get that belief. And we're all on different levels of belief. It may be, well, I don't believe much. Like this is a crazy story. When I first went to chiropractic school, I was 24 years old. I think the first season, at the end of the season, I broke my ribs, and it took me about 6 weeks to heal. And I had to lay in an inclined couch. I'm 24 years old, so I'm young. And rugby season kicked in, later on. I started playing again, and all was well. I broke my ribs the third time in my late 40s. I think I was 48 years old. 2 weeks before that, I broke my ribs. I walked into the house. I have a farm, and I was carrying a sheep, because she just had twins, slipped on the ice. I protect her and I go down. I hear these ribs just pop like a shotgun. I walk into the house I took care of them first. It's crazy. I took care of the babies, went in the house. I hold my ribs. I said, "Hun, I just broke my ribs. Give me a pack of ice." She's like, "Oh my God, what are you going to do?" And I'm like, "I'm going to put ice on them and I'm going to heal." And I said, "I got a game in 2 weeks." I said, "I'm playing in that game." She's like, "Good." I mean, she's seen me do this enough that she knows I'm a little crazy. And she's like, "Oh God." I had it in my mind first. There was no way I'm missing this first initial game. I'm doing it. I'm one of the team leaders. I'm playing rugby. I did everything I could physically, like exercise, put ice on it, stretch, take supplements, eat right. But I had it in my mind first that I was going to heal. I played rugby. I played 80 minutes of the game. I think I left in the last 2 minutes when somebody jumped on my ribs and hurt me. And I'm like, okay, I'm out. But I played like 78 out of the 80 minutes. So mind is powerful. If you get the mind right, all else starts to follow. Then once you get the mind right and you lay out whatever that is, whatever, your goals want to be, whether it's losing weight, getting in shape, not having a heart attack, just write some things down and say, okay, I don't have to I don't have to have diabetes like everyone else in my family. I don't have to be obese like everyone else in my family. I can do this. And all you have to do is just start saying that and doing that. And I have things that I try to, train people. There's so many books out there on mind and power that you just start doing it. You just start reading books and listening to people, listening to podcasts like this and getting inspired. And hopefully when you listen to something like this, they leave with, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it. That's all you need. All you need is a little spark, and you get that spark and then you start feeding it and the fire is going to grow. And then from there comes the action steps. And we can get into this. I'll pause here, but the action steps that I love to do and not a lot of people cover is our nerve system, our posture, chiropractic alignment, nerve system balance. Then comes exercise and eating right. And it comes in that order, or maybe eating right and exercise. I think those two are equal. And I love all of that. I love the mind. I love the nerve system as a chiropractor, eating right and exercise. If you leave one of those out, you'll never succeed to your maximum ever.
I kind of want to go down the rabbit hole for a minute or two or more of healing from injury, because you've injured yourself thousands of times. It sounds like I've done a little bit myself. My background in powerlifting, I've completely torn my pec, lots of hamstring tears and rib displacements and things like that. But I want to talk about if you were to go out and have an injury, and you could pick whatever injury you want, whether it's like a hamstring pull or a shoulder dislocation or a rib cracking or something like that. Like if you go out and play rugby today and that injury happens, how are you going to speed up the healing process as fast as possible for yourself with your mind, with your nutrition, with therapy, chiropractic, things like that? Like what kind of protocol would you put in place for yourself to heal as quickly as possible?
That's $1 million question right there. And there really isn't an exact answer, but I'm going to give you an outline. It doesn't, like when I healed at 49, when I broke my scapula and I healed 3, 5, 10 times faster than normal, I've been adjusted in my nerve system and chiropractic. My alignment has been near perfect for the past 30 years. I started studying nutrition in chiropractic school and started eating better, cleaning out my water, stopped drinking tap water. I started taking supplements. I've always exercised. I've just learned, and I've never quit through all these injuries and trauma and stresses in my life and all the kids. And, I have 5 kids and the busyness. I always make time to exercise at least 3 to 5 days a week. Many times it was 6 or 7. And the older I get, trying to play rugby, and I'm not on an old guy's team. I'm on a 20 and 30-year-old. These kids, one of the kids, he went to college with my daughter, and we played their team, and I scored 3 times. I was like, I just crushed him. He goes, "Your dad's is he Tressler? Did he play rugby?" He goes, "He kicked our ass on Saturday." So these are young kids. So it takes a process. So wherever you are in your life, it takes eating very well. You have to eat well. So, and this, wherever you're at, you can eat better tomorrow and you'll learn some tactics that you'll eat better next year. I've evolved my eating process over the years. I don't eat any sugar right now. I eat a high fat, very low carb diet. I eat very little fruits. I eat a lot of nuts, and I have those keto bricks that you've had on your show. Yeah,
Shout out to our sponsor, ketobrick.com.
I'll tell you, that's a killer. I'm addicted to that stuff. I'm like, don't eat the whole brick, but they do work. You start to evolve, but it comes with, I know that if I feed my body, it's going to heal optimal. Exercising, I've evolved from lifting a lot of weights, and I used to do marathons and ultra marathons. I like rugby better, believe it or not, it's crazy. But I've always done training. I do a lot of calisthenic body work right now. That's working for me, but it's evolved as well as the years. I think I'm in better shape now than I was in my 20s, and it's just absolutely crazy. You can't quit. Once you learn things, you don't just dismiss them, you just build on it. And the chiropractic part is the foundation. When I learned this, as I first got into chiropractic, that the nerves are the central source of healing. Your brain is your healer. If your brain and nerve system are shut off, you don't heal, no matter what your diet is, no matter what your exercise is. And that spinal cord nerve system is in the spine. That's affected by poor posture. And today we're wrecking it with sitting at a desk and hunched over, and we get injured all the time, and we're under stress, and we never evaluate our spine to see if it's in alignment. So if it's out of alignment, what happens is it puts pressure on the spinal cord and nerve, which blocks the brain and spinal cord from putting out the healing potential. And that may decrease by a few percent, 10%, 20%. But if that's there, then you can't heal to your highest level of function. And then you include diet and exercise and your mind upon that, all four. If you don't optimize all four, you're going to heal like every other American, where you hurt your shoulder and it takes 3 to 6 months for it to work again. You're doing work, but you're in chronic pain, and you never go back out and play rugby again because of that one injury. So as I've learned tactics and how to eat and how to exercise, and my chiropractic and how to sit, my posture, and I do strategies at home where I get adjusted every week. I get checked every week, make sure I'm in my best alignment. I just never dismiss what's good. I just keep adding to it. A lot of people that say, well, I exercise now, but I eat like crap. I'm like, why did you stop? Or I'm just eating a real clean diet, Dr. Tressler. Well, you don't exercise, you're going to die. And it's like, that's stupid. You don't get your spine checked, you're going to die. It's you can't dismiss those things. You start build upon it. So the healing potential comes from all four, but the nerve system, in my opinion, what I've seen clinically, is the most powerful thing that can just generate healing immediately. Then you activate it with your lifestyle choices.
So I know that there are probably people out there listening that would fit in this category, that there's always the people that are kind of chiropractorphobic for whatever reason. And like, I'm somebody, I've always been a huge fan of chiropractic care. I've always had, chiropractors that I've seen, throughout my entire life, especially my adult life. And it's interesting because my wife is a physical therapist, and traditionally a lot of like PTs and chiropractors don't always see eye to eye, and they don't have great relationships a lot of times. My wife is a big fan of chiropractors. Like, she refers to chiropractors from her physical therapy office, and they refer back to her. So I feel like the tide is definitely turning. But what would you say to somebody that's a little bit nervous about, being adjusted, or as a lot of people say, like getting my neck cracked or whatever, like things like that? Like what would you say to that person that's a little bit chiropractor-phobic?
The first thing is, don't watch YouTube. I see these videos on YouTube and I'm like, this is not chiropractic. This is barbaric. So if you get a wrong video on YouTube, I would never go to a chiropractor, Adam. If I saw those videos, I'm like, I'll die an early death. I don't care. I'll do it another way. So I get it. The second thing is find, talk to people and ask around. Who's your chiropractor? What do they do? Talk to your chiropractor, get a consult, see what they do, see if it jives with them. So when a patient comes into our office, I sit down and do a very detailed exam. I do posture and spinal checks. I do digital x-rays. I do a lot of education. If their spine is out of alignment, I teach them, this is where it's at. This is what it's causing. This is why you're having the problem. This is what normal is. Can you understand that? And 99, probably 0.9% of the time, they look at me and go, why didn't anyone tell me this? I had one older lady, she was a nurse for years. She looked at me, started crying. She said, why did I have to live like this for 30 years? And she saw her answer. And, I love physical therapists. I love fitness instructors. I love nutritionists and medical doctors in their need of emergency care. Love them as well. I have friends that are medical doctors, but nobody can align or adjust the spine like a chiropractor does. And you just need to find the right one. So I have, and I can give you this link. I have created, it's called the 5 things you need to know before seeing your chiropractor. And I put a bunch of videos and description of what an x-ray is, why take an x-ray, what your chiropractor should and shouldn't do. So it gives them a little like an overview of, what this is, and this may piss some chiropractors off. I want the patient to go into the chiropractor's office and say, hey, I watched this video from this Tressler dude, and you never took an x-ray. Why not? And challenge them, get their game up. They need to be x-raying you and doing a full analysis and teaching you things and teaching you how the nerve system works and finding problems, correcting them, and then showing the result. I take before and after x-rays. Imagine if they, people losing weight, they get, Adam, we need help. So you teach them how to lose weight. They go through a health program, or like what you're doing with me with my coaching, you're helping me on my podcast then, but we never see if there's any results. You never get back on the scale. It's like, oh, I'm doing well. Show me the proof, man. So I created that for the listener, for people, exactly what you're saying. So no matter where they are in this country or this world, they can say, you know what? I have a little bit of knowledge now. Now I know what to find in a chiropractor. I'll make sure you have that link.
Yeah, and we'll link it up in the show notes. And I can't pass up this opportunity because this may be the only chance I get to tell this story ever. And I know I've already told you this story, but people that get to know me and we get to be friends, I love to play jokes on my friends. Like it's probably my most favorite thing to do. And one of my powerlifting buddies had referred me to a chiropractor, and it was brand new. And, he did the x-rays and all that. So I decided to play a joke on my friend. So he's like, oh, how'd it go? I'm like, oh, it was really good. That, the x-ray thing was kind of weird, but I got over it. He's like, the x-ray thing, what are you talking about? I go, well, I've never had to be there completely naked before for x-rays. I'm standing there for like 5 minutes while he's doing naked x-rays. And he just said that the x-ray machine was on low power. And so it wouldn't go through clothes. So I had to be there naked. And I just straight faced it. And I just told him, and he got so pissed. Like, he's like, I can't, what is going on? And he's calling him, and the chiropractor was in on it. So we told him it was a joke, but he got so fired up because he thought that the person that he referred me to was taking naked x-rays of me, and some funny business was going on. So
I love that story. Can I share one thing? This is going along the lines of that. I love being a jokester too. So my daughter, a lot of my kids have worked with me for the years, and two of them work with me now. My daughter's in here and she's doing our rehab. And one day I say to her, I say, hey, listen, you'll hear people say, oh, they got a stroke from chiropractic, or they've been injured and they die. You hear these crazy stories. It's like, that's really not the truth. Let me explain it. I've never heard anyone, I've adjusted probably 150,000 people in my 26 years. I've never heard anyone besides, maybe a little strain. So I tell my daughter one day, straight face, I said, hon, if I ever adjust somebody and I kill them, I said, we're going to take them out the back door and I'll put them in their car. And I go, we're going to put their hands on the car. We'll clean the table. I said, and we'll just say they never came in. They had a heart attack in their car. And, I said, I'm not going down with this. And she looked at me and she's like, huh? And I said, you've got to promise me. I said, because they may come asking. I said, I am not going down. They won't know. And she looked at me, she all serious. She goes, okay. And I started cracking up. Oh, Dad, you're horrible. I'm like, come on, we don't kill anyone. So it's fun stuff.
So now you're on the hook. Like if that scenario ever happens to happen out and back in Pittsburgh, because we know the real deal here. And
they can't listen to this podcast.
So I want to dive in a little bit more with the chiropractic situation, because I know that you think outside of the box. And I know that there, just like any profession, there are different methodologies and things like that. What is something that you incorporate in your practice or in the way that you treat patients that not all chiropractors might agree with?
I love this question. So I look at posture, structure, and alignment, and I look at x-ray. So one example is the side view of your neck. If I was sitting facing a computer and you were looking at my side of my neck, I should have a C-shaped curve, like a banana in my neck. And without that curve, that curve acts as a spring or a shock absorber. So if I lose that curve, like a whiplash, or we hear military neck. So if that curve straightens out, I no longer have the spring. So every step I take, God forbid, if I played rugby with a straight neck, I would just be pounding my neck over time. And in between the bones or the discs, and the discs acts of shock absorbers. So if I lose the curve, and I see this on x-ray, then the neck will start to compress and degenerate, which means the spinal cord and the nerve inside there also degenerate and get trapped. So the brain then can't get its full out power through the neck, the nerve power, to the organs, to the heart, to the lungs, to digestion. It can't get it to the muscles, the arms. A lot of people get tingling in their hand or headaches or heart palpitations. My wife was a prime example of this. We get to chiropractic school and I start learning how the nerves travel and go to the organs and make the organs well. So when I started care, all my sickness went away. My digestion cleared up, my allergies cleared up, my sinus issues cleared up, and it's been 30 years. I've never had a problem since. I've only missed like 3 days of work, and I think 2 of those were broke my scapula, and I was pissed because I couldn't get to work that day. I'd never get sick, and I missed so much school as a kid. So I tell my wife, I said she had asthma for 23 years, from age 3 to 26. We got married when I was at school, and I'm like, hon, I think this chiropractic can help your lungs. She's like, huh? This sounds weird. And I'm like, no, because there's nerves out of your neck that go to your lungs. And if you pinch them, squeeze them, or choke on them, they don't work. And I talked her into it. You can hear my passion. I'm like this all the time. It probably only took me a few days. Like, you got to get in here. You're dying. You kidding me? Because she used to take inhalers every day, Adam. Every day she would take an inhaler. She was in and out of the hospital 1 to 3 times every single year since she was 3. She took steroids and pills like theophylline to open up her, dangerous stuff. And I'm like, and you don't want to go to the chiropractor? So she goes in, they find that she had lost some of her curve. So it wasn't completely straight, but the curve wasn't there. Her head was dropping forward, which is very common, so common today because of computers and texting and all this stuff. Well, that curve compresses nerves going to her lungs. She got under care. They began to correct that, open those nerves up. And within just 90 days, she could breathe without an inhaler. And it's been, again, 30 years. She hasn't needed to, the inhalers, the drugs. She hasn't been in the hospital, completely fine. So first, the nerves not only, can cause pain, but they create function to the body. That's first and foremost. So a lot of chiropractors focus on pain. So they don't really need an x-ray for alignment because they're not trying to fix the alignment. They're just trying to remove pain. You can do that with massage. You can do that with ice and heat and stretching. I look at the spine and I say, is it out of alignment that I can begin to improve and correct? So when we take an x-ray, I go through my adjustments in my rehab, both in my office and things to do at home, are actually to reshape and reposition the spine back in place. So then when that happens, we take an x-ray 3 or 4 months later, we absolutely, nearly 100% of this time, see change on an x-ray. I've seen it reverse itself because we corrected that arc or that curve in the neck. So that's how I look at it differently that way. And probably only about 5 to maybe 8% of chiropractors look at it that way. That's what fires me up. And that's what excites me about, chiropractic. And that's what I have in my video course too.
So I'm very fascinated. I've dug into some of the information that you have specifically about the neck and spine and kind of maintenance. And being that we're kind of in the middle of this pandemic situation, a lot of people are working from home. A lot of people are at the desk more often. They're in front of a computer doing Zoom chats more often. Like, just for example, I'm in my 4th hour of consecutive podcasting here, and I've been sitting at my desk. I'm 6'3". I'm 230 pounds. I'm not a small individual, and I'm leaning in and talking down into this mic a lot. And then when I get done with a session like this, I can already feel like my spine's starting to feel stiff. My neck kind of feels stiff. So what should I be doing? This is where I get free personal advice. Like, what should I be doing? Like, when I come out of a session like this, should I just be doing like flexion, extension with my spine, moving my neck, spine twists? Like, if you're going to do like a 5-minute regimen, like what would you have me doing?
I'll send you. I got this all down too. So I put all this is on video too on my YouTube page. But I have a form that I give my patients, and I believe it's on our website. If it's not, I'll make sure it is, and you have connection to it. But I'll send it to you. It's called Tech Neck Exercises. So it's simple things like you just said, bending the head backwards. And one really simple thing, this is really cool. Just try this now as we're doing this. Okay. So you bring your arms up, you sit up nice and tall, and everyone, if you're not driving, if you're sitting at your desk.
Disclaimer, don't do this if you're driving.
You pull your arms up and be so like you're going to do a jumping jack, but you squeeze your shoulder blades together as tight as you can. And then you do like you would a jumping jack without jumping. Your arms go up and down as you squeeze your shoulder blades as tight as you can. And you just do 10 or 15 of those. And when you do that, and if anyone listening, you can imagine just my arms are pretending like I'm jumping. Okay, go ahead and relax. You should feel an immediate like change in your posture, like your shoulders just lifted up and back, and you feel like your chest opened up. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of rusty feeling in my spine from sitting like this for so long has gone away. That's pretty amazing. That's awesome.
It is. And it's a temporary thing, but it's something you could do in between each show. That took us about 9 seconds, 10 seconds. You could do that, mid-morning, mid-afternoon. I try to tell all my patients to schedule a time mid-morning, mid-afternoon to take 5 minutes of that on my tech neck exercises. So I have other things like you can use bands to stretch your neck. There's a few other exercises, laying on the floor and doing computer work. If you're doing studying or doing, looking at YouTube, or kids doing homework, laying on the floor, put your neck in that curved position. But I'll send you that sheet and I'll have it linked up so all the listeners can get that, download it and implement it. It's some really powerful strategies. And when you do those regular, you stop the degeneration process. It's kind of like a reboot to your body immediately. So you'll feel that for the next, few minutes, maybe half hour, and then you can do it again if you need, or the other exercises will help you.
And it's amazing just putting in reps with simple exercises like that. So for example, about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I was really struggling with back spasms bad. And I was in and out of my chiropractor, getting work done, getting adjusted. I couldn't do deadlifts, couldn't do squats. Like I was really struggling with it. And then I started a simple 15-minute morning mobility routine where a lot of flexion extension with my back, kind of doing the yoga plow position, putting my spine in traction, like opening it up. I haven't had any problems at all. And I'm deadlifting heavy again. And it's just putting in reps. It's like breaking a paper clip. You have to bend it back and forth lots and lots of times. And eventually it snaps and you're good. Right. So it's pretty cool.
I always give the analogy. It's like if you had a door that hasn't been used in years and it's rusty and you go to open it and the hinge just won't work. Our spine is like hinge joints. They need to move. You need to oil it. That comes from hydration and things like fish oil and healthy fats and healthy nutrition instead of inflammatory foods like your sugars and your carbohydrates. So those inflame or cause rust. The fats in the water decrease rust. So what do you have to do though? You need to work it. You need to move it, oil it, move it. And then all of a sudden it's free again. And that's what you're doing. You're freeing that up. So if you do that consistently for the rest of your life, people always ask me, how long should I do this? I'm like, well, however long you want to be healthy. Stop when you want to die. I don't know. I'm like, you an idiot? It's like this. So what a stupid question, because we're lazy. We want to weigh out. Like, do I have to do this for 5 minutes a day, for 15 minutes a day? Wouldn't you do that to keep your back from killing you when you're 80 and you're crippled in a walker? I mean, it's just stupid. It's so simple. So yeah, we just have to just do it and get these things in our routine. So I'll combine, like this morning, I get up, I read my Bible, I get my mindset, I pray, I lay on my blocks, my posture position, doing some low back exercises while I meditate. And I do my deep breathing and my Wim Hof breathing, kind of like all in one. It takes me about 20, 25 minutes, but I squeeze in an hour's worth of stuff into 20 minutes. Powerful.
So you mentioned Wim Hof. I did the Wim Hof online course with like the breathing and the ice baths and all that. And I got to say, I hate ice baths. Like I don't like cold showers. I don't like being cold. I think it's from like, I used to be a lot heavier and I had so much more insulation. So now anytime it gets cold here in Indiana, I'm like right now I got my my vest on, I'm like, oh, I feel so much colder than I used to when I was heavier. But what were your benefits, or what was your opinion of the Wim Hof system?
Right now, I've just watched a bunch of his videos. I haven't done his course yet. I just bought his book. It just arrived at my house last week, so I'm going to dive in deeper. My first process, my thought process is he's onto something that we always talk about in chiropractic. It's getting your nerve system, your sympathetic or your fight and flight nerve system, calm down. Your parasympathetic, which is your healing, growth, and repair, turn back on. And his system turns on the parasympathetic. It reduces stress. He does it with breathing and ice and so forth. And when we do an adjustment, we also get the same decrease in sympathetic, increase in parasympathetic. So I was intrigued when I saw this. I'm like, he's in line with my thinking. So I do his breathing in the morning. I do a cold shower. I'm not into the cold yet. I'm trying to learn. So I'm going to learn more, but I do some cold showers. I don't do them real long. I'm trying to adapt to that. I'm like, I just don't there. But when I held my breath, and anyone listening, you got to check this out. I held my breath just to test it one day, and I'm like 40 seconds. I'm like, crap, man, that's not that long. I started training in the morning, and it's 3 sessions of breath holds where you do these 30 to 40 breaths. You hold your breath, 30, 40 breaths, hold your breath. I got it up. My longest is 3 minutes and 46 seconds. I'm like, and just a couple of weeks ago, I hit 3 minutes again. I don't know how I did 3:46. I'm trying to get back up there, but 2 to 3 minutes is really easy for me now. I'm like, this is crazy. It just resets your stress levels in your body. And it's just, again, it's one aspect. You can't just breathe and be healthy. You gotta eat and exercise and have your spine aligned. You got to do other things, but it's another component to just keep chipping away at health. My goal is to live to 120, no diapers, still having fun. And I don't know how long I'm going to be adjusting, but I want to get to the end and be healthy.
Oh, I feel like I kind of want to name this podcast episode Living to 120 with No Diapers.
Well, a book I want to write, and I've had this, I don't know if I will. No Diapers for Me. That's the title.
Dr. No Diapers, starring Dr. Aaron Tressler. No, I almost had exactly the same progression with when I did the Wim Hof course. Like I was holding my breath first time was like 30 seconds. I got into the 3 minute mark, and like I was blown away. I'm like, this is crazy. And the science behind it makes sense. So if you guys, I'll link it up in the show notes, but it's WIMHOF. That's his name. And he has a Wim Hof method that involves a breathing regimen and cold exposure. And there's a video, I think it's on Vimeo. It's like 30 minutes long of I mean, you may watch it and be like, this is kind of a cult. It's a little bit of a cult, but he takes these people to Poland. They have this like hut that they live in. They do the breathing. They kind of wear some robes, which makes it a little more culty. And then they hike up this mountain in like their underwear, and it's like freezing cold, and none of them are bothered by it. They're rolling around in the snow, but it's very interesting. And he seems like a cool dude. So
you look at him, you think he's crazy. However, he is extremely healthy. So at one point in your life, you have to say, I don't care if I look crazy anymore. When I go out and I play rugby, I say, I'm just doing this I have a pond. My goal, maybe this winter, is I'm going to jump in my pond in the winter and try the ice Wim Hof thing then. And my patient's like, you're crazy. I'm like, but I'm healthy. I'm kicking your butt.
Exactly. You lead by example. And that's so important right now, especially in the health space, man. A lot of people just see dollar signs in the health space and they go there, but they aren't leading by example. They're leading with really good marketing and really good big Instagram pages and stuff like that, or they're very, very attractive. So when people have to work for it and they create change in themselves, and then they are able to bridge that knowledge into who they're trying to impact, like that's when special things happen. That's why you're making such a big impact. And now, like with your show, Making Pittsburgh Healthy, like I think it's the coolest concept for a podcast ever. It's like your goal is to make Pittsburgh the healthiest city in the world. And you're on a mission to do that. And you're bringing experts to talk on your show, and you're gaining an international presence now with this podcast. So I know you have online courses, you got all kinds of great things going on now. So people that aren't local to you, you can still impact. So let's make sure that people can get connected to you. So what's the website? What's the best way that people can do a little deep dive on Dr. Aaron Tressler?
the first thing, like if you go to Making Pittsburgh Healthy, you'll see the podcast. Just get engaged in there. I have my coursework, and I have a free course. It teaches mind, chiropractic, or posture. And a lot of people say, well, I don't go to a chiropractor. There's things in there that you can do at home, like we were just talking, to improve your spinal alignment. You have to do it. You can't neglect your spine because it's your lifeline. This is stupid. Or if people say, I'm not into diet. Well, you got to eat healthy. It's just stupid. So, and then I teach exercise nutrition. That is thepainfreeway.com, thepainfreeway.com. And we can hook it up. There's some free coursework there. I will always answer questions. So if you go to our Making Pittsburgh Healthy, if you just Google my name, Aaron Tressler, besides I think he's a Seattle baseball pitcher. I Google my name. I'm like, wait a second, this guy's a pro. I'm like, why am I second on the list here? I'm like, I should be top list of, my name. And I guess he gets more hits than me. But you can see my YouTube page, my Instagram, my website. Just reach out to me in any way, my Facebook page. I will, contact and get back with you if you're trying to find a chiropractor. If I can help you find a chiropractor in your area, I have a lot of contacts because I know a lot of the top chiropractors in the world, and I associate with them, so I can help guide you at least to that point. So,
and I mean, I'm around and I have access to a lot of the top health professionals, in the world through the podcast. I've talked to, like, there are people on my wall behind me that have millions and millions of clients worldwide that are in the health space. And I got to say, like, you are somebody that I would trust to be my doctor, like my person above anyone else, just because of the authenticity, the knowledge that I know that you have, the passion that I know that you have to help people. And just this, like, I've dug into your material and it's just so good. So anybody that's out there listening, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, my God, you have got to go and see this guy. I know a lot of us go to the, my friend Justin Shank's event, Growth Now Movement Live in Reading. You got to drive through Pittsburgh. So I think we're going to make a pit stop in Pittsburgh whenever the next live event is. But I definitely want to get in there and hang out with you soon. But I'm just so impressed with what you do and the way that you operate and the way that you lead by example. That's the most important thing to me. Like, you are out there really walking the walk. And that's something I appreciate about you. And I appreciate you spending some time with us here today, man.
Well, thanks for the kind words. I love what I do, and I really want to help people. And it's unfortunate, like my dad, my sister, she passed away when she was 54. My brother died this year, 59. He was an alcoholic. I've seen these things affect my family, and I'm like, it just doesn't have to be. We have to make choices. And if you ever do come through, we can have a little mini conference here. I'll teach you, the whole chiropractic, and I'll show things where we could, combine your skills with mine and have a little mini seminar before we head out to Reading.
And then we go jump in the pond, Wim Hof style.
There we go. Oh, I got a farm. I got a 65-acre farm.
I mean, let's get some robes. Let's get some. If you can build some sort of a hut in a barn or something, like we could have it. We could make it happen. Oh man, Dr. Aaron Tressler. All right, guys, I will have all the important links in the show notes. I want you to plug into this guy's world. He is doing important things and his star is on the rise. So he's giving you a lot of things to think about. All right. A lot of potential action steps. I want you to set that implementation alarm on your phone. What are you going to do in the next 24 hours to flick over that first domino and create momentum in the direction that you need to go? Because that, my friends, is how we get out there and own it. Every meal, every workout, every day. I will see you on the next episode. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. I hope you got a ton out of it. If you feel like you need a little bit of a boost, a little bit of an accountability buddy, a little bit of coaching, I've got my 28-day coaching program open and ready to help. You can go to millionpoundmission.com and apply. I take a few people each week. I like to stagger them out as we onboard new people so you get maximum attention. We're touching base every week with video chats. We've got a daily Google Doc that I call the Client Hub that we check in with on a daily basis. We really dig in with your macros, your calories, your fitness. I supply all the resources you need in all those areas, and it's supportive accountability to help you burst through that plateau, to reverse your momentum from negative to positive, and really get after those goals that you've been shooting for so long. It's time to go from goal setting to goal achieving, and the 28-day coaching program is the way to get it done. Head on over to millionpoundmission.com and submit your application today.